So here we go. On this one, I'm going to be repainting these scooter wheels. Now they're not in bad condition, but they're a few scratches here or there, a few marks here or there, and I'm trying to get them looking really, really nice. A couple of things before I start. Number one, I'm not a professional, I'm a DIYer. This is just how I've chosen to paint these, so it might not be to industry practices. Number two, the bearings that you're going to see on here will be replaced before they would be refitted to the bike. But because they're being replaced, they'll probably get a bit of paint on them. So let's talk a little bit about the materials. So I'm going to be painting my wheels with a gloss black. I'm trying this high coat stuff. Never used this particular stuff before, but I have used their primers and a few of their other sort of filler primers and such. So we're going to give that a go. Primer wise, I'm going for etch. U-Pile's this one. To be fair, I find most of the etch primers to be much for muchness, as long as you ignore the Halford stuff. I must admit I don't like that at all. Painter's masking tape, the blue, 400 grit wet and dry, and 240 grit regular sandpaper. Now I'm painting these with the tyres on, so from a tyre protection perspective I go with these. Now they're flexible filler spreaders, that's what I use, but as I'll show you later on, I think they work really well at protecting the tyre and not allowing any of the paint to seep through and scratch up the tyre. So that's what I'm going with. Let's start with a bit of prep. So first things first for me, it's getting the brake disc off. As I said, the bearings are going to be replaced anyway, so they're going to stay in for here. So bit of WD, give it a chance to soak in, and let's get this disc off. As I'm sure many of you have had, the screws or the bolts, nuts, whatever you want to call them, that go through the disc into the wheel, especially if they're made out of these cheap, nasty stuff, they're absolutely terrible. So for this, using my impact driver, for those of you in the UK, it's a Halford's Advanced. Do you know what, for like 7 or 8 quid I think I got it on sale. Absolutely banging tool. 3 or 4 out already, a couple more to go. But those of you who are having trouble with this sort of thing, before you get the angle grinder out or anything like that, give an impact driver a go, works really nicely. So with the brake disc off, it's now time to give it all a good sand down with some 240. Just usual roll of 240 sandpaper. I'm not trying to get it back to bare metal, I'm just trying to get a nice key on there for the primer. But that's the sanding done, and as you can see we've got a nice key on there. It's nice and smooth. All we've really been working on here is getting rid of that shine so that the primer's got something good to stick to. Our next step now is masking off. With this I'm going to show you how to protect the tyre in a second, but I'm going to mask off the valve. I don't want that getting covered in paint, and I'm going to mask off the faces here. These are really important that they're not covered in paint. On the back side, I'm actually going to leave this because, as I said to you earlier, that bearing's getting replaced, but I am going to mask off all of these surfaces. Again, they're plain surfaces designed in this case to meet the brake disc. If we start covering those in paint, potentially we're going to throw the brake disc off. So that's the next step. Here we go, masking's done, front and rear. Now I'm going to talk to you about the tyre. Every YouTube video I see and conversations on forums and such, we're talking about how do you get something to stick to the tyre. People talking about putting Vaseline on it and all this sort of stuff. That's it's a bit much as far as I'm concerned. So as I said, I use these. Now this box of 100 cost me 20 quid on eBay and should do far more than just one wheel. The idea being is that they are thin, they're flexible, but they're tight. So what we do is we take it, we slip it in between the rim and the tyre, give it a bit of a tap, and we're good. Now bearing in mind I've let the tyre down as much as humanly possible here as well. So now we just go around overlapping them until we've gone all the way. So there we go, that's one side done. 28 in total I used for that, and as I said, these will all be reusable. The other nice thing about this is because of the amount of flex in them, I can flip this round, do the other side, and that way I can spray everything at the same time. And so here's our wheel, we're almost ready to start priming. Got my fins on the top of the bottom. The other nice thing about using these is it just holds the wheel off the deck a little bit, so it makes painting both sides really easy. Next is going to be a wipe over. So nice lint-free cloth and some pre-panel wipe degreaser. So that's the panel wipe now dry. We're ready to start priming. Make sure you're wearing the right PPE. No cheap scooter wheels are worth your health. I'm going to be following the instructions on the can. I'm going to aim for 2 or 3 coats. Let's see how it goes. So looking at the rear wheel now, which I'm doing at the same time, and after it had the etch primer down, I noticed far more imperfections that I was really quite unhappy with within the wheel. So that got knocked back. That's 400 wet and dry on that. That's now going to get another coat of the etch, and then I'm going to do 2 coats of filler primer, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing with the front wheel as well. So that's the rear wheel now with etch. It's going to get 1 more coat of etch, and then it's going to get 2 coats of filler primer. I'll show you that once that's on. So here we go. Filler primer's had a good wet sand, 400 grit, nothing finer than that. And we're now going to do the top coat. So as I said, high coat, gloss black. It says multiple coats, light and light coats, which we'll do. They reckon 1 can should do 4 car wheels. Let's see if 1 can do 2 bike wheels. Okay. So there's the first coat on. That's quite a light coat, just some dusting, basically till the yellow's just not visible. The current gloss is very nice. Really nice gloss on there. So if it retains that, I'll be quite chuffed. So here they are, 2 coats in. That's how far I'm going to go with these ones, with the high coat wheel paint. Overall, I'm really quite chuffed with them. The shine on these I've gone for is a medium shine. If you wanted any more, you could put on a clear coat, which would take it a bit further. But I'm really quite chuffed with them. The paint was really good, went on really well, flowed really nicely. No chance in hell you could ever get more than 1 wheel out of a can. So bear that one in mind. The little spikes going in around the rims to allow me to keep the tyres on, that's worked really well. You can see a few bits of yellow here or there. That's actually from the wet sanding, so that will come off with a good clean. So that's how to paint scooter wheels my way with the tyres on for about £30.